Hello, ETF fans. Mike here with a video insight. Gonna capture a couple of things today in this insight. I was on CNBC the other day talking with Dominic Chu about themes we're seeing happening within the ETF market. And we were talking about some under the radar themes that haven't quite seen the flows yet, but I think they're starting to show signs of really getting investors' attention. And that area specifically is within the thematic equity channel. So just as a reminder, you can go into the ETF channels, equity, thematic. We have a ton of resources out here for you. We do weekly recaps of the entire space. We have links into our latest reports. Who are the players in the space? AUM and flows, performance reports. We have some technical reports for premium subscribers, but a lot of free resources out here for you. But specifically, I want to dive into our dashboard link here, which will take us to the member access platform. And within the thematic space, one area we've been following and I think has been getting a lot of attention, but maybe not one of the subcategories I want to talk about today, is infrastructure. So if we just look from an AUM basis, thematic equity ETFs have $273 billion in AUM. Infrastructure is the fourth largest with just under $40 billion in AUM. But infrastructure can be cut a lot of different ways. And one of our goals at ETF Action is to help you navigate that space. So currently, our infrastructure category is broken into 5 subgroups. Broad-based, of course, being the largest. Some of the common names that you'd think of: Global X's PAVE, iShares, IGF. Some of these funds have been around for a long time, really, powerful products. But specifically, I want to dive in today to this idea of industrial reshoring. We talk about it, we read about it all the time in the news, but how can you invest in it? And within this particular subcategory, there are 5 ETFs currently. So if we kind of expand out this name column, we can see the largest in the space. One of the earliest is the First Trust RBA American Industrial Renaissance. I'm struggling with my speech today, apparently, at 6.1 billion. We got the TEMA American Reshoring at 177 million. And we got some newer entrants that are small, but very, very interesting products. Now, today we can see in live stats having a rough day today. But if we look out over a longer time period, this subcategory on a year-to-date basis is up almost 21%, right? So we can see kind of those, it's having a very good moment. Nothing crazy, but outperforming the broader market. And if we look at the flows kind of extending out here, year to date, $2.2 billion. So for such a small category, that's a lot of inflows. And we can see a lot of these products are all getting everybody's getting inflows. So we can kind of dive into that. But what I want to talk about today is what's inside of these products. What do they look like? So let's just click on this link. Again, everything I've shown so far is available with a free account. I try to do these video insights, not showcasing our premium data sets, but to focus in on what you can get with a free account. And so if we dive in here to these 5 ETFs, we can get a sense. If we look at inception date, the newest offering is from GMO with the Domestic Resilience ETF, just launched at the beginning of October this year. We've got another ETF from First Trust launched this year. And then AIRR, the American Industrial Renaissance, has been around for over a decade, right? And you can see that in its assets. It's got a much longer time frame. If we kind of look at some of the data within these products, let's just take a quick look at the sector breakdowns. One thing I would note is it looks like we're not picking up full data sets yet from FactSet on GMO. That'll be out there soon. But we can see, First Trust has got a fairly large allocation to energy, while the others don't. From an industrial perspective, everybody's got pretty good allocation. But we can see, that First Trust American Industrial Renaissance has almost all industrials. TEMA, 74%. So a lot of, differences within these products. But in terms of, allocations, you can see materials, industrials, energy kind of being those key sectors that you're getting allocation to. From a look under the hood perspective, let's just take a quick look at the GMO. It's the newest product in the space, DRES. I'll click on that. We can go into the research frames. We can read all about this product. I won't spend much time in all the frames, but I will hop into our tools and reports section to go under the hood. So I'm going to use the portfolio visualizer to go under the hood on this ETF. And what we see, we see a 71%, almost 72% industrials, 17.36% materials, and then, just shy of 10% in energy. Break that down at the industry level. We're going to see, ground transportation, construction materials, aerospace and defense. A lot of these things that are done here within the U.S. That are local, kind of higher revenue companies where they're getting their revenue from domestic opportunities versus global. Now, a lot of these companies are global as well, but the idea being they're tied into that industrial reshoring concept. One thing I like to point out, let's just take a quick look from a year-to-date perspective. A little bit all over the place, right? Not surprisingly, the transportation sector, especially recently, has been under pressure, construction and engineering. But if you get into some of these aerospace and defense, it's very diversified when you look at it from an industrial perspective. In addition, if I close out the summary stats here, we can kind of jump in, maybe take a look at what the analysts are thinking about this category. So I'll go into the analyst consensus ratings. We can see, on average, not on a weighted basis, but just on a pure average basis, analysts are thinking, based on their target prices of the underlying company, 15% return in the next 12 to 18 months. We can kind of go through and see what companies those are. But it's an interesting theme to think about as we continue to have this play out, not both politically, but also just realistically, as we redefine supply chains, as we redefine what are critical materials, critical services here within our own borders, the US, what companies stand to benefit from those macro developments. And the industrial renaissance or the industrial reshoring concept is an interesting area to play or to potentially look at, not only from investing in the ETFs that exist in this space, but also what companies exist inside of these products. So just a quick insight. Wanted to highlight that area of the market. A couple of other quick things I would show is that with all of our categories, if you go into the home office section, and I am, for all of you watching, kind of going into the premium side of our platform, but we do produce category reports. So if I were to go through and find that infrastructure category report on the equity side, thematic infrastructure, you can see those 41 products. We do a category report that's updated monthly that breaks down everything from fees and assets, flows, all the way down to sector allocations, divergence of returns. So just a great way to get that quick high level side of the business. And then if you really want to dive in terms of competitive analytics, our data packs, which I won't open up now, go into in-depth ratings and rankings of every single ETF in a category. So just a ton of information out there for you. But more importantly, wanted to highlight within the ETF dashboards, equity thematic, theme infrastructure, industrial reshoring, and highlight those 5 ETFs that exist. So hope you enjoyed the insight. If you have any questions, reach out to Team at ETF Action, and thanks for watching.